Ted DiBiase played the million-dollar man on screen, but when the lights dimmed and the suits came off, the man had opinions, real ones. This isn't about body slams or character heat. This is about actual unscripted beef, no kayfabe. Just 5 people who made Ted DiBiase roll his eyes, bite his tongue, or, if you caught him on a podcast, say what he really thought. Spoiler, it wasn't all love and luxury. Sometimes even millionaires hate who they have to share the limo with. If there's one guy Ted DiBiase didn't just dislike but fully despised, it was the ultimate warrior. On his podcast, Everybody's Got a Pod, Ted lit him up like a Christmas tree with a blown fuse. He was a selfish SOB who didn't care about anybody but himself. He didn't give a crap if he hurt you. That's not promo heat. That's locker room venom from a man who had to share a ring with him in Japan and eat a squash match for dinner. Ted's tone was clear. Warrior wasn't just bad, he was dangerous to the profession, and it didn't stop at in-ring work. DiBiase slammed Warrior's ego, his attitude, and his refusal to learn or adapt. He didn't respect wrestling, didn't grow up in it, had a great body, but didn't give a damn about anything else. That's like being told you've got the body of Adonis and the brain of a broken blender. Ted didn't see Warrior as a draw. He saw him as a parasite that Vince kept feeding. It gets worse. Warrior stiffed him hard in matches, refused to sell, and made everyone else look bad in the process. Ted essentially said Warrior was the human equivalent of putting muscle oil on a lawnmower and hoping it learns to wrestle. And here's the shoot punchline. When asked about Warrior's Hall of Fame induction, Ted didn't even flinch. I don't know how the guy's remembered as a legend. All he did was run to the ring and forget half the match. You can hear the disdain dripping off the mic. When it came to Hogan, Ted wasn't sending hate mail, but he was definitely keeping it real. Hogan had charisma, no argument there, but wrestling skill? Ted saw right through the glitter. Ted straight up said, neither Hogan nor Warrior could really work. Hogan could work as gimmick, but he's not the guy doing arm drags like Jake Roberts and me. Translation? Hogan was like a blockbuster movie with no plot. Big explosions, lots of noise, but zero substance. Ted and his crew were the indie film directors making the real art while Hogan was selling popcorn. Ted respected the business. Hogan was just riding the wave of Vince's machine. He put it plainly, he had the whole machine behind him. Take that away and he's not headlining Tokyo. Ted didn't need to say Hogan sucked. He said Hogan was carried. By production, by Vince, by booking, by everyone but Hogan. If wrestling was a group project, Hogan showed up with a smile, cashed the A+, and left you with the PowerPoint. And the money? Don't even ask. Hogan was flying private. Ted was sharing rental cars with 6 guys in a gym bag that smelled like old push-ups. This wasn't jealousy. This was irritation dressed in a tux. Ted knew guys like Steamboat and Hennig were artists. Hogan was a human t-shirt cannon. He got over with 3 moves and a mustache. We had to actually wrestle. In Ted's eyes, Hulkamania wasn't a legacy. It was a gimmick that got a little too lucky. Neon didn't make you great, it just made you glow in the dark long enough to sell merch. Ted wasn't subtle when it came to Big John Studd. He didn't scream about him, he shrugged at him, and that's worse. That's the wrestling version of being friend-zoned by a guy in a neck brace. On Everybody's Got a Pod, Ted echoed Andre the Giant's legendary distaste for Studd. There's only one giant, and it ain't you, John Studd. To Ted, Studd wasn't a threat. He was a backup singer in a one-man band. He had the size, sure, but no one was buying tickets to see the second biggest giant in the room. It's like being the guy who almost invented the iPhone. Ted kept it surgical. Studd was not that good, couldn't work like Andre, and was mostly a body that lumbered around while Andre made it all look real. Studd's problem wasn't that he was terrible. It's that he was average in a very tall body, which made the gap between him and Andre even more obvious. And here's the kicker. Ted didn't even talk much about working with Studd, because there wasn't much to say. No stories, no epic moments. Just a quiet sense that Studd looked the part but couldn't play it. He just wasn't Andre. Nobody was. And Studd wanted to be. In a business where timing is everything, Studd had the body of a monster and the footwork of a ceiling fan. Ted didn't waste hate on him. He wasted apathy. And in wrestling, that's worse than a punch in the mouth. You'd think after all those years walking behind Ted in a suit, Virgil would at least know not to book gigs behind his back. Nope. Ted wasn't just annoyed, he was furious. And it was real. No angle, no work, just straight up betrayal. He was booking appearances for both of us, without asking me. That wasn't a rumor. That was Ted, quoted, after having to personally call promoters and apologize for not showing up to events he never even knew he was booked for. Virgil was out here treating Ted's name like a Groupon code. Slap it on the flyer and pray nobody checks. Ted kept it classy in public, but you could feel the steam. It wasn't heat like Warrior or ego like Hogan. This was trust violated. Virgil turned a business relationship into a punchline. It got so bad that Ted had to publicly distance himself, making it crystal clear that if you booked Virgil, you didn't book Ted, which, let's face it, is like renting the limo and getting the guy who used to open the door. And while Virgil's post-WWF hustle turned into meme material, Ted wasn't laughing. He was getting phone calls from furious promoters wondering why their million-dollar man no-showed the VFW bingo night. That's not just bad for business, it's humiliating. I've got no ill will, but don't use my name to make a buck, which in wrestling terms means I won't fight you, but don't talk to me at the next convention. Ted didn't yell. He didn't whine. But when Eric Bischoff turned WCW's NWO into his own spotlight buffet, Ted made it real clear he wasn't impressed. When Ted first showed up in WCW, he was brought in as the mysterious financier of the NWO, the money man, the quiet power figure pulling the strings. It was perfect, until Eric decided it wasn't. Suddenly, Eric was the man behind the whole thing. And I was gone. No heat, no warning. Just poof. Out of the limo and off the screen. Ted didn't need pyro. He didn't need belt matches. He needed respect. Instead, Bischoff gave him something worse than a burial. He gave him silence. The kind that means, you're not part of the plan anymore. To Ted, this wasn't just bad booking. It was corporate ghosting. He helped get the NWO off the ground, made it look legitimate, and Bischoff took the ball and ran with it, right past him. When the executive producer starts writing himself into your storyline, that's not ambition. That's narcissism in a headset. I thought I was brought in for a reason. Turns out that reason had a shelf life. And here's the kicker. Eric didn't replace Ted with someone better. He replaced him with himself. Imagine being a master chef, and halfway through the meal, the restaurant manager throws you out and serves cold pizza with his name on it. That's what Bischoff did to Ted. He never went scorched earth, but the message was crystal. I came to work. He came to star. In the end, Ted didn't hate Bischoff's guts. He hated what Bischoff stood for, power used sideways. Guys who want the credit, but not the consequences. Ted gave the NWO credibility. Eric turned it into a branding exercise. One was storytelling, the other was ego with a production budget. So there you have it. 5 giants of the wrestling world who didn't just get on this guy's nerves, they got put on the $1 Million Man blacklist. No kayfabe, no scripted drama, just real backstage heat and the kind of truth only the locker room whispers about when the camera's cut. From the selfish egomaniacs who thought they were bigger than the business, to the corporate suits who erased him like a bad typo, this was a masterclass in what happens when respect gets lost in the shuffle and egos run wild. If you learned anything, it's this. Wrestling's real story isn't in the ring, it's behind the curtain. And sometimes the $1 Million heat is worth more than the $1 Million smile. If you dug this dive into backstage bitterness, hit that like button like you're slamming a steel chair. Smash subscribe for more cold, hard shoots and noble stories that the wrestling world tries to hide. Don't just watch, join the conversation where the real heat lives. Thanks for watching.